Hello everyone, this is the Random Engineer. Today we're going to talk more about some assembly mates, so let's jump right into it. So I'm going to try to go faster while designing, so if you don't see it, something is just because I'm using my hotkeys and my mouse gestures. So I just went Control N, and then I'm going to right click on my mouse, and I don't know if you can see the mouse gestures here, but I've got some features here. So what we're gonna do to show some of what we've been doing, some of the assembly mates, we're gonna create a cylinder with a fixture. So just for a pneumatic cylinder, I'm gonna go and draw something like this. So I'm gonna draw a midpoint line, go like that, keep going like that. So I'm gonna click on these 2 points and making coincident. I'm just gonna say from there to there, I'm gonna show you a little shortcut. Whenever you go and draw a construction line, you can make any dimension be like at radius or at the diameter. So in this case, I'm gonna go 50 diameter, and this is gonna be 120. Okay. So let's just get rid of this line for now. Just say this is like that. And create another line. These two have to be equal. This one is for construction. And maybe just, yeah, I'll just draw the walls of the cylinder. So I'm gonna go offset, maybe 4 mil on the inside. Oh, I forgot to show you the new capability of SolidWorks. You can go cap ends and lines on the inside, and they will create those 2 lines automatically. And just to finish, I'm gonna create the rod, which is in this case going to be 20, and I'm just gonna trim these entities here. That. So right now I'm just gonna finish this by rotating it along that line, and it's gonna create that part right there. So I'm just gonna save it as cylinder case. I'm gonna create another part. So just remember this is 20, and I'm just gonna create the rod now. So I'm gonna go like that. Yeah. So from there to there, it's gonna be 20. And then I'm gonna go Control Tab to show the previous one, and this is 50. So I'm just gonna say this is 50. Maybe I want this to be 10. And just want to make sure how much this is. This is 120. So I'm just gonna make a cut here. Say from there to there. I'm just gonna measure, and that's 112 shown here. Or you can go evaluate and measure, and they will show you some parameters there. So in the x, so the x measurement is 112. So that's what I want my measure to be on this side. Oh no, I made a mistake. It's from here to there. 116. All right. So I'm just gonna do the same. Revolve. And just save it as a cylinder. Okay. So I'm gonna create a new assembly and just drag my parts into it. Cylinder case and cylinder. Now remember I told you about this fixture. I'm just gonna float this. So I'm gonna make a concentric mate just to make them to equal. I'm sorry, concentric. And then I'm gonna create I'm gonna create a advanced mate. So you click on this arrow here and say distance mate, and you can define the minimum distance and the maximum distance. So in this case, the minimum distance is 0 from there to there. So that's 0, and then we say 112. So now this will go as far as 112 and as low as 0 from these two faces that I've selected before. So that's what the distance advanced mate distance mate does. So I'm just gonna make this a little bit more complicated. So I'm gonna draw a sketch on this face and just create a corner rectangle. Right click and go select chain and make them for construction. So I'm just doing the fixing calls right here. Equal, and I shouldn't have made them for construction, but I'm just gonna put them back to how they were. So I'm just gonna create a new square here. Just say that's 70 and 70, and say these have to be 6, and probably distance between those is gonna be 6 too. Oh, never mind. It's gonna be 58, and these two will be equal. So just remember those numbers for now. Yeah, I'm just going to make an extrusion to that side. Oh, I forgot to do something else. So I'm going to convert entities on this sketch, and now I can create the extrusion. Just going to create I just wanted about 10 mil. Merge the result. We've got that. So if I go from the side, you have that result in there. And just gonna fill it these edges, maybe 5 mil, 6 mil, just to have everything equal. All right. So now I'm gonna create a new part, which is going to be the fixing. Just wanna remember this profile. You can double click it and it will show you the properties. So that's 70, 58, and 6. So 70, 70, 58, select chain for construction. It's going to be 6. Just creating some, I'm just creating the same profile. And well, I made a mistake again. I shouldn't have made them for construction. So I'm just gonna put them as defining lines. So if that happens to you, you can unclick this. We'll put it back to what it was. Then we had some fillets, a fillet feature. You can do that, or you can use the fillet right here. So this is just another way of doing the same profile. It's going to show you a warning. That shouldn't be an issue. Oh, yes. Just make a feature there with 10 mil. Okay, so that was right in the middle. I'm just going to create a new sketch back again and just do something like this. Delete that. Create an arc. Yep. I'm going to create another construction line just to have this in the middle. So if I make this larger, the other one should be the same. So I'm just going to make these two tangent. So now I can do the same. So I select this point at this line and say midpoint. Make these two tangent as well. Just create a hole there, probably that size. Maybe I want this one to be a little bit larger. Yeah, you can play around with this anyway. And maybe just put it back like that. Okay, so that would be our fixing. Just gonna go and say from the middle, from the midplane, maybe just make it 15 and fill it in right there so it looks better. So this would be like a welded part. And just say fixing. So I'm in my assembly. I go back to it. Oh yeah, I'm gonna save this assembly and I'm gonna import my fixing. Okay, so the reason I made these two equal was because I wanted to show you a new 2016 SolidWorks mate. But let's first define this part. So I'm gonna create an axis. Remember I told you the other day about axis? So you can create an axis with two planes. You can create with one line two planes, 2 points, a cylindrical or conical face, and a point and a face plane. In this case, I'm just creating an axis with intersection of 2 planes. So that's the first axis. And if you can show them here, you can click on the axis, click on the cylinder face and say concentric. I hope that makes sense. Also, I'm gonna click on the right plane of this part, and maybe the front plane of this part, so it's in the same spot. I don't need to see this axis anymore, so I'm just gonna edit it. And now you can see how the concentric mate and the coincident mate define this like this. So just to completely define it, I'm gonna create an advanced mate, which is the angle mate. So I'm just gonna say the minimum is 0, the maximum is 45, and say the two references will be that face and that face. So now you see the dash over there just erases, so that means this is completely defined, and it can go from 0 to 45 in that way. So if you want to fix this face to the other one, to that other face, you have a couple of just two ways of doing it. You have to create a coincident mate from there to there, and then maybe a concentric mate on these two faces. And if you do that, you'll be able to see that these can still move, so you would need to create another concentric mate there to there. And now if you move this, everything moves back again. But that's too many mates for me, especially with the new mate that SOLIDWORKS has created. So just delete all that and create a I believe it's profile center. So you can click on the profile, and you see how it aligns automatically just because it's the same profile. And you can just give it a little bit distance, flip the dimension or the orientation if needed. And now, and now you have this movement for this mechanism, right? So maybe I just want to show you one more thing. You can have, so what happens if you want to put this in a certain way or dimension? You can say, for example, create a mate and just select the same two planes that I chose before, and want an angle mate of 30. Let me just try to do it again. Okay, that was that face, 30 degrees, right? So I'm just gonna create something like that. Okay, so now you can see if I try to do this, it's gonna tell me that it's overdefined with the plus sign right here. So that means this cannot move anymore, right? But if I edit this and say use for positioning only, that mate won't be created at all. So let me just delete this one because I already clicked on the check button. So I'm gonna select the two same planes right here. Let's say angle mate between these two faces, and just say probably just say 10 here. Oh, sorry, 10. And say use for positioning only. And as you see, it's only created, it hasn't created anything, but it's put the position of the mate is where I wanted it before. So that's what it does. So it doesn't create the mate, but it puts it So the position of the part is where you want it to be. Same with these ones, right? So this is just a basic advanced mates. Maybe I could probably show you something else. Just let me think a little bit about this. Okay. So I'm gonna create a new part here. And yeah, just let me think. Okay. And what we're gonna do. So I'm just gonna create this really fast, if my mouse allows me. So I'm creating lines now, but if I go back to the point, I can make arcs. That's just how SolidWorks works. So just let me go back and measure this. This is 20. And let this be probably, let's say 40, and this 50. Okay, let's say from the middle. Maybe just like that. 50. Just want to measure this thickness here. It's 15. So I'll probably just say 40. And just make a cut on that plane on 15. So as you can see, I'm just deleting some dimension, some relationships, just so I can move more the lines a little bit more. Just say from there to there, maybe 10, and just make a cut through both. Because if I make just through all on one side, it's gonna create from the sketch to the other side. So if I go through all both, it was gonna create through all the part both sides. So I'm just gonna say fixing 2 and import it, and you can probably see what I'm trying to do now. Okay, so my first fixing, I'm just gonna delete the relationships I did before. Maybe not that one. That one is good. That one is good too. So that only means I can move this back again, and this can also move in from 0 to 45 degrees. So just gonna put this where it belongs, front and right in this case, and right plane and front plane in that case. So you have to be careful of the on the actual planes that you choose. Okay. So I'm just gonna say these two have to be concentric, and also I'm gonna delete the this relationship right here, which says the right plane of that part and the front plane of the assembly are in the same position. So you see how this part can move back to front, right? So if I go mate and go advanced mates, you can I'll show you the difference between a symmetric mate and a width mate. So a symmetric mate needs three selections. The first selection is going to be a plane or a cylinder that will always be in the middle, and the other two selections will be the distance that symmetric distance between them. So for example, if I want this front plane to be, sorry, I'm going to click on symmetric, and then symmetric plane is going to be front plane, and then say my two other faces will be that one and that one. You see how if I look at it from the top, this plane is right in the middle of those two faces. So I'm just going to delete that to show you something else. So I chose that face, and I'm going to click on that face too. And you see how the middle plane is in the middle of those two faces. So you have to be careful where you click, otherwise you get something completely different of what you are trying to do. So that's one way of defining this part. So now this can go like that from 0 to 30. You can extend, right? So the other way of defining that one can be using another advanced mate, which is called width. So the width mate is very similar to the symmetric plane, to the symmetric mate. The only difference is that you need 4 clicks, and the first 2 clicks will define the middle, the first middle plane, and the other 2 selections will select the other 2 middle planes, and then it will create coincident mate between these two. So for example, I'm just gonna put this one somewhere else and say advanced mate with, and my first 2 clicks will be these 2 faces. So if I look from the top, the center of these 2 faces, it's actually the front plane in the assembly, and I will click on these 2 faces back again, and you see if I make an imaginary midplane between those 2 faces, and another imaginary plane between the 2 blue faces, you can see that those 2 imaginary planes are coincident in the same plane. So that's what the width selection mate does. So for example, if I deleted that one and say this one, you see how it moves the whole assembly to where to that other imaginary second plane. So just to put it to where it was, I'm just gonna click on those 2 sides, and there you go. This is pretty much yeah, this is pretty much the basics of all the assembly mates. Next episode we're gonna go into the mechanical mates, which are gears and maybe cams and hinges and stuff like that. So I hope you guys like this video tutorial. Like, comment, subscribe, and let me know if you have some other questions in the Twitch chat so I can answer it to you. Let me know if you need some other information about SOLIDWORKS tutorials, and I hope to see you guys soon next time. Goodbye.